Hello, my name is Zanli Morris, and I'm a 12th grade architecture student at the Guthrie Center. And this is my project, Shashimono Bridge. So I first started by considering certain physical and cultural gaps present in today's modern world, and the two that stood out to me the most were the generational divides creating rifts in many communities, and a detachment from nature and green spaces in more urban, highly populated cities. Research led me to discover that these problems were the most extreme in Tokyo, Japan, as its population has one of the highest percentages of adults aged over 65. And the extreme industrialization or urbanization in the city has resulted in concerning rates of pollution and limited green spaces. My intended solution to this was to design a physical and metaphorical bridge that could address both the alienation among older Japanese citizens and the lack of natural landscaping and clean air in a concrete jungle like Tokyo. I also discovered that these solutions could go hand in hand, since there is a known positive correlation between improved mental health among elderly Japanese adults in public green spaces. So the site I eventually settled on was in the Kitanomaru Park area of Tokyo, and several things I took into consideration was the abundance of local flora and fauna, like Japan's sakura trees, and the reduced light and sound pollution that could be in that area, so that it was situated away from any busy streets, highways, or anything that would interfere with the natural environment. And I also considered if traversal to the site could be achieved entirely through walking or biking from nearby residences, without too much interference from vehicular activity. Of the sites I was considering, this particular area specifically stood out to me the most because it not only satisfied most of the crucial elements I was looking for, but it would also physically connect the Chiyoda City Green Road Park to the Kitanomaru Park through a pedestrian walkway over the water. So for the design of the bridge itself, I wanted to represent the complexities of both traditional and contemporary Japanese architecture. So this would make it harmonious with Tokyo's cityscape, and it would make it appeal to every generation. I researched prevailing aspects of Japanese architecture throughout different time periods to properly incorporate this into my design. And I noticed that the prominent characteristics of architectural design in the Edo period of Japan included the usage of wood in its natural state, elevated structures, shoji and fusuma, which is basically frame partitions and sliding doors. And in present day, the usage of concrete material and minimalism, it's more widely seen, especially in places like Tokyo. And in order to blend things together, I decided to go with a geometric sort of minimalistic concrete support for the bridge. And then for the top half of the bridge, I emphasized wooden partitions and elevation. I also had certain practical features in mind, like solar panel installation, wheelchair accessibility, boating clearance underneath the bridge, and the sufficient shade necessary while experimenting with this concept in my sketches and partie models. So, after gaining a general idea of my bridge's appearance, I moved on to space planning so that I can map out the flow of pedestrians and their movement overall. And one of the most important things to me was ensuring that there was room for the circulation of those looking to cross between the two parks and those wanting to stay on the bridge. So that's what led to the placement of the ramp leading up to the second floor in the center of the structure, with passerby moving along the sides. In the floor plan, I finalized this design and also made sure that various benches were located throughout the bridge for people who might be unable to walk longer distances without rest, like seniors. And to make sure the entrances to the bridge were more welcoming, I added Zen gardens to the east and west sides since they're associated with peace and reflection in Japanese culture. For my exterior renderings, I attempted to emphasize the unity between man-made construction and the organics of the natural world. And I achieved this by pairing the wooden latticework and the cement with the surrounding greenery. So the cement that I incorporated shrubbery or plants in a way that it was part of the design itself by just placing them near the entrances with the Zen gardens or using them to decorate the sides. On the bottom right here, I've included SketchUp views to better communicate the individual angles of the concrete base of my bridge without the obstruction of plants. For my interior renderings, it was my intention to showcase how exactly pedestrians can engage with the bridge by making use of its accessibility, the open spaces, and the natural lighting filtering through the partition windows. Again, I use the same natural wood material throughout the structure to give it a sense of simplicity and unity, so that people traveling through it feel more inclined to appreciate the joining of both old and new architectural techniques, and so that they can also take a moment to create shared experiences with their community. So here are the final poster designs I've submitted, and I've also included the reasoning behind the title of this project. I would like to thank those involved for allowing me to be a finalist, as it's an honor to create something that can unite separate parts of the community into one whole, just as Shashimono would do.